Hi there, my name's Jason Williams, and in this video, I'm not doing a video on the repair of the Patrol. It's a video on the repair on the Landcruiser. Alright, in this video, the front diff I'm having some issues with, and I'll show you, I'll briefly go over what happened. It's about the air locker, and although you've seen me repair an air locker in the Shorty, in the Patrol, what it is the one in the Patrol was the actuator, the electronic side of it. This one, it's the internals. So it's leak. This is a common issue, or not common, but I've seen a lot of them do this in the past. ARB air lockers, and they leak air inside the diff, and it comes out through the breather, and you can hear it, and the pump cycles on and off while the locker's on. So I've got to pull the front diff apart and pull out the front diff center, put it on the bench and test it and find where the leak is. I've had it out before, but I didn't have, I was up north, I couldn't, I was on the road, I was sort of I just patched it up and got by, and now I'm going to rebuild it properly, or fix it properly. What was happening was I was on a really steep, ridiculous angle. It was leaking and so forth, and really steep angle, and the oil has run to one side of the diff and obviously covered the breather hole, and it's pressurized the diff housing getting up this really steep, ridiculous climb with a trailer in tow. And it pushed out the inner axle seal, destroying that hub, or making it so I had to rebuild it. And so I'm going to now rectify that issue, and hopefully this makes sense. And yeah, I'll begin. Alright, first thing is to drain the oil, which is all good, and like everyone's probably mentioned, always do this one first, the filler, undo it. You want to undo the fill, because you want this oil to run out very happily. You want it to run out very nicely, and also check which if there's any metal. I generally know just by dropping the oil the condition of the diff, how it's going. And I'll put this on the bench and inspect for any metal shavings. It looks good so far. Alright, well, having a good inspection of this, and you just want to check the magnet. There's clearly, there's no grit in that whatsoever. Everything looks fine, so happy for that for now. Alright, so as you can see, the drive shaft is off. I didn't record that because I was too busy swearing and getting cranky. And then while it's still on the ground, for going to remove the drag, is it called a drag link or steering link? I don't know. Anyway, it depends on who you ask. They say different things. I've always known this as a drag link. And being that I undo these and I take it out of what's not, I don't expect that to be overly tight. I've already undone this one. Got it, a little bit. You can see it's quite undone. I've removed the thing. So what I'm going to do is give it a bit of a tap and see if it pops off. It should hopefully just tap off. Yep, that's it. That'll do. And I left the castle nut there like that so I wouldn't damage any of the threads. But either way, it's now off because you have to get this steering link, drag link, whatever you want to call it, off to get that front diff out. So, assuming that that's definitely dislodged, which it is, and now I can hopefully get it up and out of the way. A little bit easier said than done, but there we go. And then I can drag it up away from the and just be note, I always put the nuts on the ends of the threads of where I've been. I can just drag this out of the way, and now I've got free room to get that out. But now I've got to jack the front diff up, put on stands, and rip these wheels off. Alright, so I'm only going to record me working on one side because the other side's the same, and I'm going to record on the long shaft side because this is one that we have to pay attention to. It's a little bit trickier getting the CV shaft back in, but if you're wondering, like, I'll use a rattle gun undoing things. You'll see that a fair bit, even maybe doing some things up in this video, because I've recently hurt my back pretty bad. You might have seen the last video I made, or one of them, where I'm kind of limping and dragging my foot a bit because my lower back's in a bit of grief. So I'll just do this. And when it comes to the heavy lifting side of things, like, this will be fine. These are very close to the ground, so I'll be able to shuffle the wheel off easy. But when it comes to pulling the diff center out and putting on the bench, I'm going to have to get a friend of mine to do that. I'll see what happens. I don't think I'll do that myself. Well, I'll try not to. But anyway, this is getting this off. I hate rebuilding diffs. I hate working on diffs. I think because I've done it so many times and I'm sick of doing it. I think it's just because I'm sick of doing it. And see, that tyre should be able to just slip off like that. Easy, easy, because it's very close to the ground. Maybe even do the right thing here and put it under there to catch it if it for some reason falls off the jack stands. Put it under the radius arms. And yeah, cool. I'll just do the other side and just follow it, and then take off the brake calipers. What I do is take the brake calipers off brake calipers, take them off, and generally zip tie them to the spring. All right, let's go. Let's do the other side. Not that I won't record that. All right, and so undoing these are very tight normally. But again, I've had these all off recently. Yep, they're tight. No two ways about that. So when you're taking these apart, make sure you've got plenty of rags close by. I'm going to have to clean all these parts. I normally use something electric, but you've got to be very gentle these. Just crack them a bit, turn it, and I'm gonna have to put all new wheel bearings, clean it all. Alright, now I can use something with the motor. Definitely gonna need a good clean. I can see that there's lots of diff oil in this bearing grease. Take the retaining clip off the, so you can get the hub off, locking hub. Oh, weren't very tight, were you? Oh, try not to hit other things. All you're doing is knocking it till these cone washers come loose, and then once that happens, it all should theoretically come off. Just do it the easy way, right? Just use a pair of long nose pliers and rip them off. All these parts are definitely going to have to be cleaned. Alright, hub off. Now, I've got to remove the bearing. I give it a bit of a wipe to locate where the locking tab is. There it is. Just bend that over. And is there another one? Felt like there might have been. I don't know, that one's just not bent enough. I was a bit slack with that one, and retaining the locking washer, and then the next bearing, lock nut for doing the preload. That felt just a tiny bit, that felt a little bit loose, but it's not a brand new bearing, so can't expect much. So yes, Going to have to put all new bearings in here. And this should come straight off. Just like that. Some of that grease isn't contaminated, so it's hasn't been too long leaking. That gasket remained on there. Alright. Now, with a rag around that, I typically inspect this bearing surfaces. The other one, oh, this one's going to come off easy. Sweet. That's nice. Yeah. Might have to get some new gaskets, I think. Yep. Oh well. Some new rebuild kits for that. Give it a clean. You know, I check everything that... So these bearing faces are quite important, and you can see where the seal runs. So this... The stub axle from the other side looked quite good, but this stub axle, you know, I can see evidence of the bearing sliding on that. Might have to get a new stub axle, I reckon. Great. Oh well, better find it now than later when there's an actual issue. I will be replacing the inner axle seals. Alright, and so the next spot is to get in here and undo the top of the air locker, which is, things are getting quite difficult to get to now. This is just the air actuator that operates the air into the locker. And you've got to watch, there's a copper washer above and below the fitting. So we'll wind that out and try to catch them both. It's that one and that one. And then put that back on there. And then with that, so I've got my big hands and head probably in the way. Oh, with that bit done, then I'll just get in there and undo all these nuts. I won't record that, obviously. I'm just going to be crawling around on the ground and probably swearing and carrying on. And you might think, Jason, why didn't you put a hoist in? Why haven't you got a hoist? The amount of work I do on cars. Well, the reason I didn't put a hoist in, I don't have a hoist, was I didn't want to ever have to do this kind of work where I needed a hoist. But that ships out the window because here I am. Okay, I guess I'll undo them and then wait for Paul to see if he'll rock by this afternoon and pull the diff out for me. Alright, with the diff centre out, I have this is normally where the issue is, somewhere in here for the air leaking by. I have noticed this is chafed and a bit damaged. Not sure it's leaking, but what I'm going to do is roll it over so I can get to this fitting easy enough. And I'm going to apply some air in it from the compressor. Anyone think I need to buy an air compressor, eh? Stop using the car. And so I'll apply some air in here. Oh. Wow. I can quite clearly see that there's a fair bit of air coming out of there. What if it wasn't even the quad seal after all. Either way, that's got to come out, and I should be able to, I think I can get a new one of these, and I'll probably have to take the diff with me and see if I can get that repaired. So that's pretty quick and easy. That's gushing out of there, which is fairly common. I thought it was going to be the quad seals, but if I pull it out, I'm probably going to change the seals anyway. But that was a quick, simple diagnosis of that, wasn't it? Alright, well, while I've got that diff getting sorted, I have to replace the tube. Anyway, looking at stub axles, I can see here that there's a bit of chafing, not so much, like you can see a bit of chafing around here and pitting, and a bit of marking around where the seal goes, and the other side is actually worse. So I need two new stub axles. That's these, and then I'm gonna have to press all these out and press the new races and pack new bearings. And and because I was removing this front drive shaft, and I was being a bit rough with it, this does happen sometimes. And anyway, I've broken the grease nipple off. So that's something I'll do now. Repair that while I wait for these parts to come. I've got a few things I'm gonna try here for removing this. Hoping that I can just put like a screwdriver in it and it will just work its way out. And it does. Lucky me, eh? I do have some easy outs here. Maybe I'll give that a go. Easy out made it a bit easier. Hence it's easy out, right? Check against the old threads. Yep, spot on. That's right there. That's perfect. Alright. So that's the drive shaft bit done. Alright, and so beginning on these hubs, generally pop the seal out kind of like this. Yep, it's coming out. And it went flying. And in the bin it goes. Bearings in the bin. And basically all I want to do is find the grooves in this down to the bottom. Give it a knock. Just gently. There's a spot opposite either side. Just gentle, gentle. Not that these are being reused, obviously, this is obsolete as of now. No longer in service. That bearing rest go in the bin. Oh. And that's it, it's out. Bearing race out. Now what I'll do is give these a really good clean up and inspect and make sure both of them are in good nick. So in here we're going to You know, I'm inspecting all the insides of these races. They all look good, or the surface of the races where they've got a slot into where the interference fit is. And you know, I've washed them pretty thoroughly with petrol. I'll go through now, give them a bit of more of a clean up with some brake cleaner and a rag, just to get any remnants of old grease out, and so I can give it a really good inspection. Alright, and very sweet. I mean, these are great. You got a bearing race kit and seal kit. You can get these from just about anywhere. No particular brand. You put the bearing race in there, and straightforward. And same thing, you'll tell when it's hit the bottom. It's pretty obvious. Have a look in here, checking where the surfaces are, make sure it's met. Alright, and when greasing these, I like to pack the larger bearing, which goes in on the hub first. I like to pack that first and chuck it in so that I can retain it with the seal and flip it up the other way and it can't fall out. So here goes to packing this bearing. And so everyone's got a different technique for this, right? And you'll see guys, you know, or you know, slapping it one way or the other way. I tend to knead it in there like that until it just pushes out. And you know, I'll do that all the way around the bearing, you know, just like anything that you should do. And doesn't matter, there's no right or wrong way in that sense. If you're slapping it together or packing it, or if you use a tool like a bearing packing tool, happily drop that in there. Try to put as much of that grease that's still on my hand in behind the bearing, and it will hang there. There is a right and a wrong way for these. The gripping bit must be facing out because you're stopping ingress from getting in there. Because the last thing you want to do is damage the seal when putting it in. So a little plastic hammer is usually spot on. Just until it's almost flush. Because all you're doing is keeping, till it's flush. And then you'll probably see that I have a train tamer kit, bearing kit, or there's a whole swivel hub in here. It's not just bearings. So, you know, I've got, but I'll show that as I go, all the new seals and so forth. And so that's done. Because that seal's on there, I can now flip it the other way without the bearing wanting to accidentally fall out. And then I'll repack, or I'll pack the outer bearing, which is a smaller one. All right, next time, as I can say on this Landcruiser, I've never done this, and that is I'm just going to service these hubs. Not going to do much. And just give them a clean up. Just have a look at this O-ring, you know. I'll re-grease it in a sec. I just want to do one of these one at a time. Just give them a clean and re-grease. Bit of a clean. Again, very gentle with this kind of stuff. You never know. And no doubt it's going to be hard to if I break it or it's damaged, it's probably going to be hard to locate without buying a whole new hub. Rather not have to do that if I could help it. We know how it goes together, it's pretty basic. I will put a little bit of grease, fresh grease, around this where the seal goes, just slowly working that in. Nothing like a bit of fresh grease, because the grease is going to help it move, plus helps seal out any foreign matters, any contaminants, water and dirt, mud, whatever. And then go ahead and slip the seal back on. I'll put some grease in this one as well. Just wipe it on the inside where the seal's going to be running. Just so it's well greased. Just a little bit of pressure and it went on. Cool. Alright. And clip this back on. Making sure it seats in there, which it should. There we go, that's hub done. I'll now, locking part of the hub, the locking mechanism, I'll now do the other one. I won't record it, but the next bit I'll be doing is pulling these apart and servicing them, the actual locking hubs. And I'll get to that in a sec. Well, as I was pulling this one apart, that little hole that I thought might have been a water drain or something, there's a little ball bearing in it. Turns out the other one, did not have that ball bearing, or it fell out as I disassembled it and I didn't see it. I'll just see what that's meant to do. It's meant to be a lock, to lock it in lock and in free. Bummer. Wonder where that is. I don't remember it being in there, like falling out or anything. I'm pretty sure I would have noticed. But this one's there. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that when I put this one together. Yep, just like that. And slip that one out, and then the center comes out, and give that a clean. Alright, there we go, they're all apart and all cleaned up. And if you're ever wondering why I'm putting all this together with bearing grease, this is closer to the wheel bearing than it is the CV joint, so that's the reason for that. Alright, and now again just wiping a little bit of fresh grease on there, and I've kept all these shims up a particular way, all these parts, so they can put it back together on like so. And that's it, clip, it's on. Same thing, I've cleaned everything pretty good. Bit more wheel bearing grease, because you can't, you don't want any of this going back together dry, but I don't really want it with contaminated Diff oil and old bearing grease if I can help it. So henceforth I pulled it all apart. First time I've done this. Again, the reason I'm going overboard with this is I've got to wait for the Diff parts, and they're over a month away, so before I can get my hands on them. So with that being the case, I might as well do this completely, thoroughly. Shoes big hands in the way. And there we are. Assembled and ready to go. Alright, now to this bit. I have to rebuild the swivel hub, the swivels. And I don't know if you, like, as further inspection as I've gone, it's just, if you can see that, it is horrendous. Oh, so I've got to take that off, clean it up, and repack it. And in this kit that I got, came with all the new wiper seals, everything, and even new shims for the kingpins. My gosh, it was very extensive. So I'll pull them up, pull that off, clean it up, and put their new inner axle seals in and show you that as I go. Alright, and so with a little 10mm spanner in behind it, which is quite tricky to do, there's I think 3 of these on each side, and the 2 retaining plates. There's one this side and one on the other side behind, on the other side of the swivel, and that holds the wiper seals in. That's got to be undone so that we can get this. Then we pull the kingpins out and bearings, or just the kingpins out, and then the whole hub will come off. And the other one is it held on by one more? Oh, come to think of it, they're joined here, so there's a top plate and a bottom plate. Sort of a bit of a struggle to remember. It's been around about 10 years since I've done this, so that's not bad going, 10 years. And then I've got to do this all over again, but it certainly turned out to be a much bigger job than I thought it might be. So maybe the air locker leaking was a good idea before I go on a big trip, or for quite a while, and I completely overhauled the front axle. Alright, that's one of the retaining plates off. Just got to finish getting the other one off and pull it all off, and I better stop the camera there and I'll begin the next bit. Alright, now hopefully undo these. These are held in by a cone washer as well.
Should, with the taps, pop off. There we go.
There we go. You can rest down there just a little bit. That's one kingpin out. The other one is at the top here. Maybe a little bit harder to get to when that back caliper's in the way, so I'm going to have to get a spanner for that. And there we are, off. Just going to have to do a bit of work to pop that bearing out. Not that's that hard, but then I'll knock these races out, clean this up, pull the inner axle seal out, and continue on from there. Greasy, yucky job. Alright, that out, messy job. Bearings out. Now, pull your inner axle seal out with a little tool like this. There we go. And we're getting in here to inspect that there's no bad score marks, which I don't think there is. Maybe there, a little bit at the top. Nothing major. We'll get this out of the way. I'll get all that out of the way, give it a clean up, and then what I'll do is assemble the inner axle seal and the bearing races for the kingpins, and then go ahead and disassemble the other side and show you a little bit of the cleanup. Alright, and so before I can put any of these bearings or anything in, I've given this a bit of a clean. It's probably not perfect. I should maybe make sure it's a little bit better, because then the wiper seals are going to go on, and the first one to go on, which is the outside one, is the felt seal, and just being fairly gentle with it, finding the right spot to get it over, because the metal plate will back against that, and then goes on the rubber one with the ridge facing the felt, and then the metal race, which doesn't matter which way that goes. But try not to distort it out of shape. Try and make sure it's pretty good for when it goes on. Yep. And then we can go ahead and put in the inner axle seal, which the hammer I left underneath the camera. Typical. And so I'd again, make sure these surfaces are very nice and clean, because these are important. Every time you pull the axle out, you should replace the inner axle seal regardless. It's not a very expensive seal, but it can cause you a lot of grief if it fails. It normally sits in there like so. Get that piece on there, and tap it in. And genuine seals are very important on the inner axle seals, because it's got a metal ridge up on it, and that comes in very handy when locating the axle into the diff center when putting the CV in the axle. We'll knock it in till it's about flush, and once you're happy with that, happy days. That's had in, and then the bearing races. These are got to go in too. So do the exact same type thing. You hear it's home, but you will stick your head in there. Just make sure utterly, because the last thing you want is this not to be in properly, because then you won't get the right preload onto these kingpins, and I'll show you how to set that in a sec. I'll just get this other one in. Utterly in, and with that inner axle seal in, get a rag that's clean, and because it might be a day or two before I get to installing the swivel hub, so I'll wrap it up with a rag. Fairly good. And then that's that bit done. Alright, so on the bench here I've got my tubs and all my bolts and little bits and pieces, and the swivel knuckles are in there. And anyway, I'm going to spend the rest of the day cleaning parts. And I don't think anyone wants to see that. I don't even want to see it. But hey, it's got to be done. Alright, so putting these together. These are all nice and clean, and keep yourself a clean rag ready. These hubs, one will be marked with L and one will be marked with R, so you've got a left and a right. This is the right one. It's a lot easier for me to show you the preload on the kingpin bearings than the other side. So first port of call, I suppose, would be to get 2 of these bearings and this train tamer kit, and I'm gonna pack them with some fresh CV grease, which is this one here, molly grease. And I mean, these aren't nearly as necessary because they're not under heavy load, heat and high wearing. They but it is advisable to pack them fairly good if you can. So it's going to go on this way. That one is going to go on the top like so, but not getting carried away just yet, because what I will be doing is I'll be installing some of these shims. We've got quite a few here. I have a feeling they might even be different size, or they're the same. They look this one looks thicker, maybe. I wonder if they're numbered. Nope. Alright. So what I'll do is I'll start off with 2 shims. That's right, no shims on the bottom, only shims in the top. Yes. So what we can do is slide this bearing underneath into its home where it's meant to go, and put this steering arm underneath. There you go. Put the collars on under there. That'll help hold it in place. What I'll do is pop this back off, and being that I'm going to go with 2 shims to start with, and got to make sure this lines up. To the side. And just give it hopefully a little gentle persuasion. Oops, into there. Just to get started so we can start on these threads. Like that. and hopefully just gently take it down. So what we're looking for here, this is set in the preload, is there should be, like, it should move as it is, and there should be around about 4 kilo of weight, like, or a kilo or two, and that to me feels perfect. I mean, now that I've done that, I'll probably check the book, see what the specs are, but that to me is absolutely spot on. Well, as for me, I couldn't find what I was looking for in the book, so I'm going to do it by the best of my knowledge of how I know, and I'll tighten all these up. It's quite a make sure that's not pinching, and make sure these are nice and tight. Alright, now see that's, it doesn't, you don't want it to run away like free and be like you know, do its own thing. You want to just have a little bit of drag on your finger, and that's happy. So 2 shims. I'll remember that for the other side, and now I guess I'll move the camera and I'll get into packing these. I'll put the retainers on. Need 2 of these to retain that rear seal. I'll move the camera and I'll show you what I've got to do there. Alright, on these swivels, you want to put a little bit of the CV grease in the back of these seals, and it's okay to wipe a bit on the swivel hub, because you don't actually want these going together dry. And you don't have to put lots, just a little bit, and then and try not to get any grease in there. And then put the metal retainer, which is what the seal's going to go up against. In it goes. And you feel it with the lip all the way around, and then that's it pretty much. And that rubber seal against there, grease is helping it stick in place. And that one goes on the outside of there. Is that right? Yep. And that one goes on the inside of that one. Just do it up till it's kind of feels like it's touching and it's there. Then you go right around the outside and rotate the hub just to make sure it's absolutely there. Kind of nipped up, or not nipped up, but there. So rotate this back and forth, making sure it's hit the stoppers, and make sure it looks good, which it does. And then I'll go through and now tighten them, and tighten these just until they're like just nipped. No, don't ever go heavy on these. They don't do a whole lot as far as they're not holding a lot of weight. Very small bolts. Alright, that there is a swivel hub rebuilt, the preload set. I'm stoked with that. That feels good. I mean, there's extra resistance being that the seal's done up now, but that'll like free up pretty quick and being used, and cover that back up until I'm ready to whack the hubs in, or the diff in. I've got to put the diff in first, which is not going to be part of this video, is it? This video's gone on way too long. Alright, I'll do the other side, won't record that, and we'll see how we go. Well, there you go. What an absolute monstrosity of a job this turned out to be. However, it's been a long time since I've done it, so sure. This is, so far, I'll have to end the video here because this went on for so long, and it's very detailed. But you know, I thought I was just rebuilding the locker, but I ended up having to do everything after looking at it, and I'm glad I did because it's good now. Well, it's gonna be. Alright, so hopefully the next video of finishing this off is in a week's time from the release of this video. So yeah, I'll try and I'll get started on that, and hopefully that gets up at the right time. Alright, thanks for watching. I don't know, thank you very much for managing to hold on this for this long, or you know, waiting this far through. Wow, that's amazing. But I'll aspire to see you in the next one, which hopefully will be me finishing this. Alright, cheers, thank you.